What's up, YouTube Nation? Sending out good vibes to all seekers of truth. Today we're going to talk about yoga. Okay, what is it and what is its purpose? What is yoga? Well, a lot of Americans and Europeans think it's only one thing. They think it's the physical postures of yoga. People think of it as exercise. They think of it as training for balance and training your core to be strong. They view it as improving maybe your breath even. That's a pretty deep view. It's a pretty good view. But let's know that that's only one type of yoga. Okay, it's called Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga, Hatha, yoga. And where does yoga come from? It came from India. It came from the the origin was from the Indus Valley civilization. Some people say yoga is like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years old. So if you view it as a religion, it's one of the oldest religions in the world. Okay, and where does it come from? Besides that, well, it evolved, and people from India, specifically gurus, they had the idea of yoga only orally, so they were only communicating with each other what it could be. And a lot of yogis lived in the mountains, kind of far away from the city. And if you wanted to know anything about yoga, you'd have to travel on foot or on donkey or something to the guru in the mountain, and you stay with them for years on end, learning only their style. Okay, the gurus only had their style of yoga. Okay, and what did you learn from them? You learned a mix of Hatha yoga, which is the postures. The postures are called asanas. So you learn the asana postures, but also the breathing techniques and the sitting techniques. Okay, so yoga is not only physical, it's mainly focused on the breath and also focused on sitting meditation. Okay, so we got to get this idea out of our minds that yoga is only postures and using your physical body for that. It's a little bit of a misnomer or a myth. Okay, so a long time ago, yoga was communicated only orally between specific gurus, and they all only had their own style, right? So it's kind of like if you wanted to know all about Mexican food, there's only one restaurant in New Mexico that you would go to, and then that's your whole perception of Mexican food, is that one restaurant in New Mexico. Okay, that's kind of what it was like. But then there was a man named Patanjali, Patanjali, Patanjali. Okay, and he wrote a big text. So he knew a lot about yoga. He traveled to different gurus and understood their teachings. And what he did was he wrote a text called the Yoga Sutras. So we have a book called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Okay, and if you want to know about yoga, you have to read that book. Okay, and what is in that book? Well, he describes a lot of Hatha yoga, the postures, but also he talks about pranayama. Pranayama is breathing techniques, because Patanjali was describing how our breath is the medium between our bodies and our minds. Okay, if you want to calm your mind, you're using your breath to calm your mind. Immediately calms your mind and your body. Okay, and a lot of what Patanjali was describing was what is in today, not Hatha yoga. It is in Hatha yoga, but there's also Kriya yoga and Kundalini yoga. Okay, these are the yogas that you would get into after you do Hatha yoga. Maybe do Hatha yoga for a year or two and prepare your body and your breath and your mind and then you go into the more sitting and breathing techniques of Kriya Yoga and Kundalini Yoga. Kriya Yoga, Kriya, Kriya, or Kundalini, Kundalini, Kundalini. It's very fun to say, Kundalini. And these are the yogas that you are going to want to get into after doing Hatha Yoga. Okay, very important to say, Hatha Yoga is the means to an end. Hatha Yoga is not the point. It's not the purpose. Hatha Yoga is the exercise to becoming in shape. Okay, the in shape is called, when we think of what it means to be in shape in America, that means you got the body you always wanted. Okay, but in yoga from India, it's the mind and the consciousness you've always wanted. It's the calm mind, the peaceful state of consciousness. That is the end goal. And so you have to prepare your body and your breath to get there. Okay? And so Hatha Yoga for a year or two, and then you move on to Kriya Yoga or Kundalini Yoga. Okay? And this is when you need a teacher, you need a guru. Okay? You need someone that can bring you to the next level. Otherwise, you're going to be doing it by yourself, and it could be even dangerous. It could be extremely scary and even dangerous to do that. Only doing Kriya and Kundalini by yourself. Plus, you probably just won't do it right, because you need to be disciplined. You need discipline, and you need discipline to become a master at Kriya Yoga and Kundalini Yoga. Okay? So that is kind of what yoga is. So remember, it's Hatha Yoga first, and then Kundalini and or Kriya Yoga. And the end goal is enlightenment. The end goal is enlightenment. Another word for that is samadhi. Samadhi, samadhi. And that's what they talk about in Kriya Yoga is samadhi. Or in Kundalini Yoga, they just call it a Kundalini awakening. Kundalini. And what this is enlightenment, what we call enlightenment in English. Okay? But English cannot describe these types of states of consciousness as well as in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the language of yoga. And because there's different types of samadhi, there's kind of level 1, level 2, and level 3 of samadhi. Okay? So it's like there's 3 levels of enlightenment. So you can't just call it enlightenment. You got to be specific and call them by the 3 levels. Okay? And once you get really into yoga, you're going to know the 3 levels. Okay? And the final level, of samadhi, is what you ultimately are going to want. Okay? Or ultimately heading towards, not wanting. That's what you are going to become in the future, is the ultimate samadhi, the ultimate enlightenment, becoming one with the universe. Okay. Okay, so that is what yoga is. What is the purpose? Okay, what does yoga do? Well, yoga is deconditioning of what you are. So first you have to think about what you are or who you are. Okay. We are a culmination, or we are a product of our society and our biology. Okay. So we talk a lot about DNA and RNA and genetics from your parents, but that's kind of another topic because I'm not a scientist. Okay. Basically what that is, what your genetics are, is historical societies. So human societies in the past made decisions, or they had a certain level of development, right? Maybe they had to deal with certain climate changes 50,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago, and that changed the genetics that we have today. So what is genetics? It's actually just a book of what's happened in human history, okay, for the last 7 million years that we've been humans. or for the last 300,000 years that we've been Homo sapiens. Okay, so our genetics is a product of what all the Homo sapiens have ever done and all human beings have ever done. That is what our genetics are. So that's really no different from what's happening today in our society today. Our society is building your brain chemistry. Your brain chemistry was built by society. Okay, societies in the past and society today. Okay, and what is deconditioning? Why do we have to decondition? Okay, because society, when we grow up, we are taught certain things that help us to survive, but do not help us to be happy. Okay, let me repeat that. When you go to kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, junior high, high school, college, what are you learning? You are learning how to survive and be a good boy and be a good girl in this limited society. Our society is a small aspect of human nature. Human nature is all of the societies in nature ever. All of the societies in human history ever. Okay, that is what human nature is. If we want to know what human nature is, we have to study every single society that's ever existed. That is the only way. Okay? And actually the best way to do that is to become enlightened. So you have two options. You can either become an anthropologist and study every single society that's ever existed, and then you only have the idea of human nature in your mind. It's only an idea. Or you can try to become enlightened, and then you have complete knowledge of human nature from your core being, not an idea in your head. You could just die and forget that. But once you become enlightened, human nature is what you are. And so you understand from your core all that is. Okay. So to reach to that level of samadhi or enlightenment, we have to decondition our body, our breathing, and our mind. They must be deconditioned. They have to be changed. Our brain is plastic. We can change our brain however we want. We can manipulate our future by what we are doing right now. Our future will become what we are right now. So we have to choose what we want to be by what we do right now. Okay. So if you want to become mindful, that means in the moment, you are mindful. Always. Okay. You wake up every day becoming mindful and being in a mindful state. That is the only way for you to become mindful. Okay. If you want your body to be calm and relaxed and open, that's going to be to require hatha yoga, which hatha yoga is deconditioning of what society has and your environment has built in your body. Okay, when you went to school, you were forced to sit in a chair for 7 hours a day. Okay, your hips are very closed. Your hips are not open. Your hips are closed because you sit in a chair all of your life. And you haven't thought about this. You haven't thought, what are the negative consequences of me sitting in a chair forever, and now my hips are formed in a certain way where my hips are closed. Okay. What are the negative consequences of that? What if in the future I want to have open hips so that I can sit in a meditation style for 1 hour or 2 hours? Okay. Because when you sit in a chair, that's much more distracting from when you're sitting in a lotus position. If the goal is to become mindful and enlightened, the end goal is to be able to sit in the lotus posture, the lotus asana, which I can't do. I can't demonstrate for you that. I can't demonstrate that for you because for me, I'm trying to decondition my body. Why? Because in school, I had to sit in a chair, and then I went to play sports after school, and I never stretched. I never stretched. I didn't know the benefits of stretching. I didn't see in the future that, maybe I want to become a flexible person, okay, you don't know the consequences of that when you're growing up. Okay, so yoga is kind of a parallel or a symbol or a metaphor to deconditioning yourself to become enlightened. That's really what it is. And to become enlightened, you have to decondition yourself. Okay, what's an example? Well, we have all of these little subtle addictions in our life. We're especially addicted to our thoughts. That is the main addiction that we have, is addiction to our thoughts. Okay, we think that our thoughts rule our life. We wake up in the morning and first thing we do is think and say, "Oh, I'm so tired," or "Wow, that was a good night's rest," or "Oh, I'm so hungry, I need some breakfast," or "Man, I kind of smell, I need a shower," or I'm hot, I need a cold shower. These are the thoughts that pop in our mind, and we believe that they are true because they are our mind, and we identify with our mind. Okay? But we need to be deconditioned from that mind, because what is it? Right? We mentioned in this video already that our mind is a product of our society, and our society is extremely limited. Our society is like one book in an entire library of human nature. Okay? If you wanted to know all about human nature, why would you just read one book when there's an entire library about it? Okay? You have to decondition yourself to believe that only that one book, only your current mental state, is the right state. We believe that what we are now is true, is what truth is. It's like, oh, my current mental mindset, that is what's true. No. Your mind is kind of a slave to its environment. Okay? You can view your mind as a slave to all of the thoughts that you've ever heard, all of the ideas, all of the conversations, and all of the visualizations you've sensed or you've perceived in your entire life. Okay? For example, when you look at a tree, immediately, boom, the word tree pops up. Okay? But when you start meditating, you see that that tree is not a tree. The essence of a tree is consciousness. When you look at me, when we look at I, we see that the nature is not me, the nature is consciousness. We need to know what the nature of all things are. To do that, we have to decondition our mind, which we start by deconditioning our body. We need to become flexible so that we can sit still. That is the goal of Hatha Yoga, is training your body to be able to sit completely still for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. That is the best way to become enlightened, is every single day you dedicate yourself to sitting still for 1, 2, or 3 hours every single day. That is the most effective way to become enlightened, because you see that you are not your mind. Too many people are trying to stop their mind. But what is the thing trying to stop it? It's also their ego. So it's just ego fighting ego, which that's just schizophrenia. Do you want to be a schizophrenic and have kind of low-level psychology? No, we don't want our egos fighting each other, fighting amongst each other. What we want is not to be the ego. We let go of the ego, we let it be, and we become our nature. And yoga is one of the best paths to do that. So it's deconditioning the body, because you've been eating, because a lot of people in the West, in Europe and United States and Canada, they eat pretty crappy food, specifically a lot of meat. Everyone eats way too much meat. What meat does is it adds stress to our life. It makes us feel very anxious and stressed. Okay, it tastes good while you're eating it, but what happens an hour later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later? Okay, it gives you anxiety and stress and angst and depression. Okay? Because think about the energy of that animal, or the consciousness of that animal that you're eating. Was it living in the beautiful mountains and had an amazing life and kind of accumulated this beautiful karma, or all these positive vibes? Okay? What food is either negative or positive vibes. When you're eating food, you're consuming the earth. You're consuming the product of the earth. Okay? And what happens is our civilization, capitalism, kind of the capitalism that we live in today, is treating animals without love and compassion. Okay, so the animals are living with too many hormones that our capitalistic society is introducing to them, and that ends up in your body. And the animals are living very stressful lives, very, very stressful lives, and it's extremely sad. And that's what we are consuming into our body, is all of these negative vibes. Okay, and this might sound new agey, but it's just a fact. What you eat becomes your thoughts. What you eat becomes your thoughts. If you eat crappy food, you will have crappy thoughts. Garbage in, garbage out. Okay, or you could have beauty in and beauty out. Okay, by eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and kind of grains like rice and simple food, and you digest it easily, and kind of, you don't eat food for the flavor. You view food as a means to having a mindful state. A means to having a mindful state. That is what food helps us do. Okay? It is an unending interconnectedness between food, body, and mind and soul. Okay? So it's just, everything is just shared and interconnected. If you eat organic, beautifully grown food from a beautiful area with positive vibes, that is what your mind is going to be, is having positive vibrations in your mind's eye. Okay? Hatha yoga helps us do that. That's part of the path, is cleaning up your diet. Okay? Garbage in, garbage out. Also with what you place your attention towards. Okay? When we do more Hatha yoga, we're changing what we pay attention to. We watch less TV. We read less news. Okay, it's important to know a little bit about the news, kind of a little bit what's going on, but most of the news is not reality. Most of it is not. Okay, the only reason to follow the news is because people are talking about it. Okay, it has no bearing on what's actually happening in the world. What's actually happening in the world is this. Beauty all around us. Look at this beautiful fountain. This is true news. As you breathe in and you exhale slowly. You sit and have a conversation with a friend. This is the real news. This is what's happening. Okay. Everything else is a story that humans enjoy telling themselves. Even the sadness that's happening in the news, all of the fear, is because humans want to be feared. Humans want to be scared. The idea of fear is very kind of sexy. It's kind of, we want more and more of that in our minds. Is, I should be scared, I should be scared. Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times. I wouldn't say those are all on the same level. I wouldn't put Fox News and New York Times on the same level. But all of them are generally saying that you should be scared, you should be worried, you should be stressed, and you should be this and you should be that. Okay. The real news is that you are what you are. And that is perfect. Because everyone is the image of God. Everyone has Buddha nature in their heart. Everyone has it deep. That is what we are. Is Christ, is Buddha, is the universe, infinity. This might sound very new agey, but the entire universe is in your heart. The entire universe can be found by placing your attention into your nervous system. Let me repeat that. By doing Hatha Yoga for 2 years and eventually Kriya Yoga, this is what you discover. By doing Kriya Yoga intensely and with purpose and determination, you will discover that the key to all knowledge is found in your nervous system. It's not your nervous system. It is infinity. Right here is infinity. Right here is infinity. Right here is infinity. We don't have to use our minds. Our minds believe that we are separate from other things. My mind tells me I am not the tree, and the tree is not me. That's what my mind says. Okay? But we have to disattach from our minds and become one with our nervous system, which is infinity in essence. Becoming infinity. We need to re-become. Become again. We need to re-become our true self. Before we were born, we were our true self. We were the nothingness. We need to re-become that to become happy. It's the re-becoming of God. Okay? God created the universe so that the universe could re-become God. Okay? Our human mind can't understand that. No, why would God just play a game? Okay? Why would God just play a game? That's what our mind is asking. Okay? That is the ultimate question. Okay? That doesn't need an answer. That's just the question. Why is God playing a game? Why did God create all of these things? Why did God create the Big Bang? We don't know. Okay? But when we go into our nervous system deeply, decondition all of the little mindsets we've ever had, we go in and we see that our nervous system is the source of infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, infinite love, infinite truth, infinite being, infinite existence. By becoming one with your nervous system, you will never die, ever. Only spiritually you will die. Your ego, you will let go of that and you will become, and that is spiritual death, letting go of the ego. I am not my life story. Okay. For more on that, I just recorded a video yesterday called What's Holding Us Back Spiritually. I would watch that video to get more in depth of what I'm saying here. But we want to spiritually die and become one with our nervous system through detoxification. Detox. Yoga is detox. That's what it is. It's cleansing. It's sobriety from all of the stress, even the human happiness. We need to detox from all of the human happiness, all of the human sadness, to become consciousness, to become absolute awareness, purity of God, godliness. It is your Christ potential to becoming one with the cosmos. Okay. In Kundalini, they say that human nature is actually just potential. You have the potential to become God. That's human nature. And it's found in our nervous system. It's found by placing our awareness, closing our eyes, placing awareness in our nervous system, going up and down the spine, from our tailbone to the 7 points, our 7 chakras, all the way up to the top of our head, where the nervous system kind of shoots out at the top of our head. This is the energy that is found. This is the energy that we need to place our attention towards to become our truth, to become our true self. Not our ego self, to become our true self. Okay? So I would maybe try a little bit of Hatha Yoga. Okay? But that'll prepare your body and your breath. But another alternative is to do a little bit of Hatha Yoga on the side and a little bit of Kriya Yoga meditation to start. We can also just sit method, which is Zazen. We can also do the Zazen method of just sitting. That is deconditioning. It's extremely difficult. You think it sounds easy. Oh, I'm just gonna sit for an hour. No, but like without moving a muscle, without twitching, without scratching. Okay? If you have a scratch on your forehead, you can't. If you have an itch on your forehead, you can't scratch it. You have to sit there. Okay, unending. For as long as you possibly can, every single day. Okay. If you're already flexible, you're well on your way to becoming good at Hatha yoga. But you're kind of lucky. People like me, I'm extremely inflexible. That's coming from my karma because, like I said, I played sports every day when I was a kid and as a teenager, and never stretched ever. My muscles are tight. So I get very uncomfortable when I'm sitting in proper postures. I'm extremely uncomfortable. Okay, but I get determined. I say I'm gonna sit here for 50 minutes straight. Okay, and that's helped. So I have a lot of mental determination, but my body gets kind of in the way. So to start doing that, we have to decondition our body from all of the sports we've played, all of the competitiveness. You got to get competitiveness out of your entire mentality, your entire mindset. Getting competition out of it. Because competition means there's somebody or something outside of me. But that's not what we learn when we become enlightened. Enlightenment is the discovery that I am everything and everything is I. Okay, so there can't be competitiveness when everyone re-becomes God. That is the opposite of competitiveness. It is complete cooperation between things that seem separate, which means that everything is just one. So we say interconnectedness between things that are separate from our human mind, which that's true, it has some sort of a truth to it. But really, on the deepest level, it is all one. It is oneness. So what is yoga? It's deconditioning. And what is the purpose? It's to become one with all, and all with one. Okay. Peace.